Hey guys, how's it going and welcome to another video. So it's been a while since I filmed like a little sit down informative video and I really thought I would talk about this because I've been getting asked this question a lot lately, and it is how to gain muscle without gaining fat. Now, it is inevitable that you will gain a little bit of body fat when you're in a calorie surplus trying to gain muscle. That's totally normal, it's inevitable, but there is a way to minimize that fat gain. There is no need to gain unnecessary amounts of fat unless you're already severely underweight when you want to bulk up. So in general, I would recommend being in a calorie surplus, so eating more calories than you burn every single day if you want to optimize the muscle gaining process. Now, if you're already very overweight or if you're a beginner, you can very well gain muscle in a calorie deficit. But if you're more intermediate advanced and you're quite lean, it can be a good idea to lean bulk. So when is a good idea to lean bulk? Essentially, if you're already really lean and you've been dieting for a while and you want to gain some muscle without putting on too much body fat, or if you're just naturally like a hard gainer and you have trouble, putting on any muscle, it can be time to bulk and really push that food up. When it's a bad idea to lean bulk is if you have an eating disorder. I would not recommend trying to be careful of how much body fat you gain, because if you're already severely underweight that it's compromising your health, you need to definitely seek professional help and put on body fat deliberately, not only for your physical health but also for your mental health. Disclaimer, obviously I'm not like a professional or a doctor, although I do have experience with eating disorders, and I would definitely recommend putting on some body fat first deliberately because it's just really important. And also, again, not recommend lean bulking if you're already very overweight or if you're already suffering from if you have excess body fat that you want to lose first. I'd recommend dieting that off first to get your body into a better spot to start lean bulking. The reason why lean bulking can be super effective when you're already very lean is because once you've been dieting for a while and you're pretty lean, your insulin sensitivity is very elevated, and that does increase your likelihood of gaining muscle. But also, the leaner you are, the more anabolic you are. It's something called the P ratio, which is like the amount of muscle to fat you gain from the excess calories you consume. The more body fat you have, the more likely you are to store more body fat when you're in a surplus rather than muscle, and the leaner you are, the more calories from that surplus are going to go towards building muscle. So I know that was a lot, but I hope that makes sense. So let's start into obviously the nitty-gritty of how to lean bulk. Now, it's very important to track a lot of variables because what does not get measured does not get managed. So first, we want to start off by finding your maintenance calories. Your maintenance calories are the amount of calories you'd be consuming that are going to allow you to maintain your current physique, your current body weight, everything else being the same. So let's say you have a consistent amount of activity levels and you're eating a certain amount of calories and your weight is the same, that is your maintenance calories. So how to find this number for you, because calculators on the internet can be super inaccurate and everything is very person dependent. So what you're gonna do is download a calorie tracking app. I recommend MyFitnessPal, but there's so many others out there you can download and track your calories for about 2 weeks. So be very precise and very honest with yourself and see how many calories you're eating on a day-to-day basis and take the average over the course of those 2 weeks. Once you have that number, let's say for example, for the sake of this video, let's take 2,000 calories as an average number, and let's say you've been doing 10,000 steps per day on average and you did 3 cardio sessions per week that were 30 minutes each. So let's say with all those activity levels and eating 2,000 calories per day, your weight has maintained. Cool. So 2,000 calories is your maintenance calories for that amount of activity you're currently doing. Now, in order for us to head into a slight surplus, we have 3 different options. The first option is to increase your caloric intake while keeping everything else the same. The second option is to decrease your energy expenditure through doing fewer steps or doing less cardio and keeping your food the same. And then the third option is doing a mixture of both of those first options. Now, how to know which option is best for you depends on your personal preferences. For example, let's say with the food that you're currently eating, you're really hungry, you want to eat more food, but you don't mind, the cardio. Let's say you have a very active job, so the 10,000 steps, you don't even have to think about them, and you like the cardio, you don't mind it, but you want to have more food, then let's increase your food by about 100 calories, I'd say, and I recommend increasing those calories from carbs or fats, assuming that your protein is already set 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight that you currently weigh, or the equivalent in kilos is about 2 grams per kilo, I'd say. So if your protein is already set at that target, then I'd recommend increasing your calories from carbs and or fats. This again depends on personal preferences, on the foods that you like. Do you prefer eating higher fat foods, or do you prefer eating foods that are higher in carb? And depending on that, you can choose to increase your calories from either carbs or fats or both. The deeper you get into your bulk and the harder you find it to eat more food, the smarter it's going to be for you to increase your calories from fats, just because fats are more calorically dense. They have 9 calories per gram as opposed to only 4 calories per gram from carbs. So that is if you want to go down the route of increasing your food. Now, let's say you're not particularly hungry and you're finding it hard to eat more food already, but you're kind of dreading your cardio sessions. Cool. Let's keep everything the same, calories the same, steps the same, but we can decrease your cardio to, I don't know, for example, 3 times 20 minutes instead of 3 times 30 minutes per week. I would never cut out cardio completely because it's very important for your health and for your like overall blood flow and for your recovery, things like that. So you can decrease your cardio, but I would never recommend cutting it out completely. And yeah, so that's like the second option if you want to decrease your cardio. And third option would be just like a mixture of both. So I'd increase my calories like by 50 calories and then decrease my cardio to like 25 minutes 3 times a week. Now, obviously these numbers are very arbitrary, and I'm just throwing numbers to give you guys examples of like what I mean by these different principles, different concepts, different adjustments you can make in order to lean bulk. And so once you've gotten the gist of those principles, it's very important to, like I said, track your progress, because what does not get measured does not get managed. So you're gonna have to check in with yourself. If you don't already have a coach, you're gonna have to be your own coach and check in with yourself every single week. So when you're checking in, here's what I want you to track. I want you to take progress pictures in the same lighting, same poses, same clothes, or like underwear every single week. Try and obviously get good lighting, get your full body in the picture. You're also going to want to be taking measurements, and then you're also going to be looking at your scale weight. Granted, scale weight is never super duper accurate, and since our scale weight fluctuates a lot, I'd recommend taking the average throughout that week. So you're going to have 7 scale weight readings, right? Because you'll weigh yourself every single morning, and then when you're checking in, take those 7 numbers and do the average of the 7 numbers and use that average as your weight for that week, and that is the most accurate way you can track your weight. So let's say week by week you want to make sure you're progressing, and indicators of progress are things like, you know, when you're working out, your performance is skyrocketing, your lifts are going up, things feel good. That's an indicator that we're making progress. If your measurements are going up, so like if you're a girl, if you're trying to gain muscle like in your glutes and your legs, around your shoulders, if those measurements are going up, then you're doing the right thing. If you're like a guy and you want bigger arms, measure your arms, measure around like your chest, you know, those areas where you really want to gain muscle. If those measurements are going up, you're doing great things. And if your weight is going up by about half a pound to a pound per week, that's a good way to know that you're gaining muscle and you're minimizing the amount of fat gain. So let's say when to know when to make an adjustment, right? So let's say, for example, if for like 2 weeks things have kind of been stagnating. Let's say your weight has not budged over the course of 2 weeks, like the average weight has been the same or has even gone down a little bit. That's when you know it's time to, you know, make an adjustment. So either increase your calories or decrease your steps, or a mixture of both. And then let's say you've been gaining a bit too quickly. So let's say you made an adjustment but you overshot it. Let's say after 1 week you were like, oh, I lost weight, I'm gonna add 200 calories, and you added a bit too much and your weight started to go up by like 2 or 3 pounds in 1 week. That could be a sign that you're gaining more unnecessary body fat than needed. If it doesn't bother you, that's fine. You can just keep things the same and wait for your weight to stabilize again before making another adjustment. But if you're worried, you can cut down your calories just a little bit. So it's all about trying to, you know, see where that trend line is going, see what your average weight is doing, and also just looking at your pictures, looking at how you feel. And ultimately, the amount of weight you want to gain depends on how comfortable you feel. How comfortable do you feel with fat gain? Because lean bulking isn't for everyone. Some people do feel more comfortable with more body fat on them, and that's totally fine. Some other people would rather bulk for longer but stay leaner, and that's totally fine too. So yeah, the numbers that I gave in this video are obviously very arbitrary and very specific to what I think is a lot of body fat gain or not a lot of body fat gain, but that does depend on the person. These are just some guidelines that I like to stick to with my clients. So if we're gaining over 1 kilo a week, that could be that it's more body fat than muscle, which is totally fine if the client doesn't mind. But if the client wants to stay relatively lean, then that could be an indicator that, you know, the adjustment that we made was a bit too much and that we need to adjust it, if that makes sense. So yeah, lean bulking is all about just making very small minor adjustments whenever needed and just really making sure that you're keeping track of your measurements, of your progress on a week-to-week basis, and staying accountable and honest with yourself. So if that's something you're looking for, accountability, someone you can check in with, kind of like a second eye, a more objective look at your physique, I am taking on a couple more clients for next month, so if that's something you're interested, I will leave my details for that in the description down below. And that is everything for today's video, guys. That is essentially how you can lean bulk. If you have any questions, do leave them in a comment down below and let me know what kinds of more informative sit down videos you want to see next. And yeah, until next time, bye guys.